going on, everybody? Welcome to Skibo's Garage. My name is Dalton Reynolds, and I am the owner of Skibo's Garage, where we work on a lot of old stuff more than we do new stuff. So today is my first video. If you guys will kind of excuse me a little bit, I kind of got COVID, so I'm kind of running on a little bit of a laying in the bed for about 4 days. So all right, so this is the first video that I'm going to be doing, and just to show y'all what we've got going on here. We're going to be working on a beautiful 1963 Mercury Monterey 6-passenger wagon. This car has a 390 FE engine in it, this is a rather early 390 for 1963. Factory 2-barrel car, factory power brakes, factory power steering. So this thing has a good little options on it, especially for it being for a Mercury. So we're going to try our hardest to get this thing running today. The previous owner said that this car actually has a stuck carburetor, which is obviously sucks, but you know, that's all we can do. Obviously, you know, it won't go any farther than this. You're gonna have to excuse me, I'm filming on my phone, so I can't really turn the camera around like I want to, like you usually would on Snapchat. So you gotta bear with me here. I'm working under very primitive conditions since this is my first YouTube video. So let's get right into this, and hopefully you guys like it. So as you can see here, factory 2-barrel, factory power brakes, and this is our power steering pump down here. This is our little baby reservoir, and look at the size of the air cleaner on this thing. That's it compared to my hand, so this thing is freaking humongous. Just do a little bit of a walk around of the car. The Mercury Monterey is a very interesting Mercury car. These things came in 2-door, 4-door, and wagons, if I remember correctly. This is, like I say, this is a 1963 model. And I'm just going to tell you, that is probably the coolest dash on the face of the earth. I love that gauge cluster. It really does embody the 60s. This car was given to me by a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, and we'll get back to that in a minute. A buddy of mine actually bought this 72 Ranchero a while back, so that's going to be another video for another day. Obviously this thing has been sitting for a while, and somebody backed into it with a tractor, which is what I was told. So the interior of this thing doesn't look very bad at all in any way, shape, or form. There is a little bit of rust down here. The carpet's a little wet, so you know, that's to be expected when something sits in a barn for 40 years. So we're going to try our hardest to get this thing running today. The previous owner said that this car actually has a stuck carburetor, which is obviously sucks, but you know, that's all we can do. Obviously, you know, it won't go any farther than this. You're gonna have to excuse me, I'm filming on my phone, so I can't really turn the camera around like I want to, like you usually would on Snapchat. So you gotta bear with me here. I'm working under very primitive conditions since this is my first YouTube video. So let's get right into this, and hopefully you guys like it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this carburetor off, because I have another carburetor that I can throw on it just to get it running. One that was actually on my Mustang, and I'll make another video on that pretty soon. So there's a lot of trash up here on the engine that we're going to get off, and we're going to make sure that we can get this throttle unstuck. And I'm probably gonna have to rebuild this carburetor. This is a Motorcraft 2100, if I'm correct. Yep, it sure is. And I'll go over how to tell the difference between the 2100 and a 2150 here in a little while. So let's get this carburetor off, and we'll see what we're dealing with. All right. You're probably gonna have to excuse the fan in the first part of the video. I kind of got to keep myself a little cool, you know. It's a little warm out here today. So what we're going to do is we're going to snatch this carburetor off real quick, and we will I'll come back whenever I get it over to the bench. Alright, so we got this carburetor off. Like I said, this looks to be a Motorcraft 2100 carburetor, which I believe so. Yep, it sure is. Actually, now that I think about it, that might be a 2150. I have to double check at it. So, like I say, you know, we've obviously got a lot of dirt here, and this thing was sitting in a barn for, I'd say, 40 years is what the guy told me. So, he was saying that the throttle linkage on the carburetor is stuck, and I believe him, because obviously this is all free, this is all moving correctly, our spring is in the right place. So this is definitely our problem. So let's take this into the other room in here and let's blow this thing apart and see exactly what we're dealing with. Okay, so we are now in my disassembly room. I call this basically the engine room, because if you guys could see this, obviously you probably can't. So I have a bunch of lifters and cranks and a bunch of rods and some other stuff down here that really we don't really want to talk about. This is my 351. This is going to be built in another video, hopefully pretty soon, if I don't sell it first. So we're going to see how that goes. But for right now, we're going to dive into this carburetor, and we're going to see if we can get him cleaned up and freed up, and get all of the passageways and all that stuff, get it all cleared out. I have part of a rebuild kit here that I'm going to try to use what I can out of it, and we're going to see if we can get this thing running on the stock carburetor. So if we can, that's going to be great, but if not, I have another one that we can throw on it. So I'm going to put you guys on another time lapse, and we're going to get this thing torn apart, and I'll come back with y'all in a second and show y'all what's going on. Alright, so as you guys can probably see, this thing is in really bad shape. Somebody's definitely been in this thing before, because that is a new float. So what basically happens is your fuel comes in through this hole right here, and there's a needle and there's a seat that looks like this. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but that little point comes on, or sits down in one of these, which is what's called a seat. And if you look real carefully down in there, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a small tapered hole that the point of that needle fits into. And what that does is, when this float rises, so this is your fuel bowl, so fuel comes in here through here, and it comes up into that needle and seat. That's the needle and seat right there at the end of that float, and it fills this carburetor bowl. So whenever it fills the carburetor bowl, it raises this float, and when the float gets up to a predetermined, wherever you set it, when it gets up to a predetermined height, it shuts this valve off and keeps fuel from flowing into the bowl. That's what keeps the fuel from overflowing out of the vent tubes, which is right here. So these vent tubes come through these little holes, and I can't really, that little hole right there is this vent tube, and that keeps atmospheric pressure down on this fuel bowl, which keeps all of the fuel down in there and keeps everything happy. So when this shuts, the fuel stops coming into this bowl. If this sticks down, you lose fuel, and you can get a drivability problem, and you can also get a no crank problem if this thing is, or a no start problem if this thing is stuck. So obviously it looks kind of gummy down in here. It doesn't look too terribly bad, but my main concern right now is getting this throttle linkage to get unstuck. I'm gonna take everything apart and just take a look at it and see what's going on. And I've got some carb cleaner here. I'm just gonna run through this here and clean it up and get it functioning again, so that whenever I do need to go ahead and do a full rebuild, I'm not cleaning too much. So I'm gonna put you guys back on this time lapse again, and we'll get this thing all blown apart and cleaned up and put back together, and we'll go put it on the car and see if we can get it to run. Alright, so I've given the carburetor a little bit of time to soak and see if we can get it to loosen back up, because I've never actually had one be that stuck before. So we're going to just go ahead and throw this little unit on. Some of you guys that follow me and have known me for a while know that this is the carburetor that came off of the Mustang. The Mustang was a 2-barrel for a long time, and I thought I could go the cheap route and get one off of Amazon, and this is the culprit that I came up with. It's about $89, which worked well until I was going down the road one day, and things started surging. Yeah, started surging really bad. So I took this one off and I swapped it over to a 4-barrel, and I'm going to make a video on my car, on a full walk around of my car at some point. But I'm very proud of my car, if you can't tell. But this one caused my car to surge. So whenever you going down the road, it wasn't a smooth ride, and it was just a really bad drivability problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this carburetor on to this 390, just so I can make sure that the car runs while the other one in there is soaking down with some Deep Creek. Highly recommend Deep Creek. I'm going to make sure that that one is nice and loose and all that stuff before I put it back on the car, because I don't want to get anything dirty going down in the car, because I know for a fact that this one works very well. We're not going to be able to hook any fuel lines up to it right at the current moment, because the fuel filter that I had on this car that screws into the carburetor is actually in my buddy's Ranchero. So we're going to have to bottle feed it for right now, which is okay. I mean, I just want to see if I can get the thing to make some noise. So we're going to have to jump the solenoid. I have to go get a battery for it, but hopefully we'll be able to get this thing to run pretty soon. So stay tuned. Alright, so I got the new carburetor on, and well, it's not really new, it's just kind of new-ish. And I got a battery thrown in it, and we're going to hop in the cab here, and we're going to see what the heck happens. So according to the guy that has been working on it before me, oop, interior lights work. According to the guy that has been working on it before me, he said that it will not turn over when it's in park. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in park. So we're in park right now. So we're gonna see if that's got any truth to it. So I don't have any other lights other than, well, I have my parking brake light that's flashing. Good to know that still works. So let's see, does it turn over in park? No. So let's see if we have any turnage in neutral. So we have cranking in neutral, which is a good thing. That tells me our park switch is bad, or some switch down on the transmission I'm just running through to get it running, excuse me. Right now I'm not going to worry about what's going on underneath. So the next big thing is to check and make sure that we have spark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the distributor cap off, and we're going to take a look and see if we got spark. So obviously you're not going to have any spark if your points are not grounded properly. So I was being a complete doofus, and I didn't realize that there was a screw missing out of the points, period. So obviously that is not going to allow you to have spark. So I will explain that in the next clip. Well, you just look at that. So obviously the screws help. So And I went through and sanded down the points with a business card. Well, not really sanded them down. I went through and set them to the proper gap with a business card. And as you can see, we have a nice, healthy blue spark. And that's exactly what you want. All right, so we now have spark. And I'm going to hop in this thing and see if it will do anything in terms of firing off. The reason it didn't have spark was whenever the last owner put points in it, there's a little screw that grounds the points to the breaker plate of the distributor. That screw was missing, and therefore it didn't have a ground. So we're gonna hop in it real quick, and I'm gonna see what it's gonna do. So I'll put you guys down. I'll let you guys listen. So it didn't start, which I'm not really surprised. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take a look at what the underside of this distributor cap looks like. I know I just had it off, but we're going to take a look at it even closer if I can get something to get this distributor cap off. So we're going to take a look and see what is going on up under here, because we know that we've got spark and we know that we've got a good coil, because the coil is brand new. So right off the bat, I'm seeing there's a little bit of corrosion right there on the end of that rotor. Yeah, there's a lot of corrosion on the end of that rotor. So luckily I have a spare rotor right down here, or a spare cap right down here, that I'm going to try to use. I think it's the right one. It looks like it's the right one. So we're gonna see, yes, see, look at how clean these are in here. So I got to find another rotor, and I'll put this together. I'll put y'all down, and we'll put this together and see what happens. So I just pulled one of my spark plug wires out, and this thing had absolutely no chance whatsoever of starting. So I'm gonna have to see if I can find some spark plug wires laying around here, and I'll come back when I got all 8 of them. All right, I got spark plug wires put back on. I know it's a hodgepodge of like 2 or 3 different ones, but that's what I could scrounge up. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop back in here and see if we can get it to do anything. I don't think there's any fuel left in that thing, but we're gonna try it anyway. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna squirt some brake clean down there. I know this isn't what's supposed to happen, but it'll be all right for right now. Just to see if I can get it to bark off. Because if I can get it to bark off, then I know I can keep on going. And it don't get much easier than that, folks. She's gonna smoke like a freight train, but I think we're getting somewhere. I wish you guys could see the amount of smoke that's back here. This is ridiculous. So what I'm gonna try to do now is I'm gonna try to make a makeshift spout, and I'm gonna try to fill the bowls of the carburetor up and see if I can get it to stay running long enough to where we can figure out what's going on. So, but y'all heard it here first, and it barked off, and so we're gonna keep on cruising with this. Okay, so what I'm doing now is going through, and I've got some new parts for this thing. I've got a new distributor cap, and there's a new rotor in there. So I'm gonna go through and put the new cap and all of the new plug wires on this thing. If you guys can't really tell, I had to make a bunch of plug wires that I had laying around work just to see if we could get it to run, and as you saw, we did get it to bust off. So this time I'm going to see if I can get it to run for longer on this carburetor, which shouldn't be hard to do at all. And so if you guys hear, well, for one, that door closing, but if you guys hear some background noise, I'm sorry, my grandfather's out there cutting grass. So I've also got a battery for it, so we're gonna throw all of this stuff on there so we can get her to run. So yeah, and while I'm doing this, I'm just gonna explain a little bit about myself. For those of you who are on here and went to high school with me, y'all obviously know who I am. So like I say, my name's Dalton Reynolds, and I've been working on cars since I was, you know, really tiny. So my granddad, the one that's actually out there cutting grass, has had a lot of older cars over his life, and I grew up working on them with him. And my dad has his 1976 Corvette that I'm sure you're definitely going to see on this channel pretty soon. And so really it's been a way for my family and I to put all of our stresses, you know, behind us, and especially during this COVID mess. You know, it's been a real treat to be able to get out and work on these cars like this. Another, you know, side thing about me, I actually am a service technician at Jim Hudson Ford here in Lexington, South Carolina. And I just recently graduated from Spartanburg Community College with an associate's degree in automotive technology. So as I guess you could say, I'm kind of in this for the long haul. And I'm really thankful that I was able to get the opportunity to learn all of this stuff. I've had a lot of great instructors over the years, and I've had a lot of great people who have come through and really helped me to find my passion and, you know, start up this channel myself. A little bit behind the channel name. For as long as I can remember, my grandfather has always called me by his nickname for me, which was Skibo. And so he made me promise him that one day I would open up a business working on cars, and I would have to call it Skibo's Garage. And so I was like, well, what the heck? This is the best time to really go through and, you know, start up a channel and get everybody interested in what I'm doing. And if you're not interested in it, well, oh well. But I'm sure you guys will be pretty interested in what I'm doing, because like I say, I'm interested, you know, obviously, because I do this for a living. But it's more than just a living to me. It's a way of life, and it's, you know, really helped a lot of people like myself especially. And I know if there are excuse me, any other car guys that are here can attest to the fact that this has really been something that's helped us through the rough times. And you know, this has been one of the things that I've wanted to do for a really long time. And obviously some of my methods might not be the best, but I will say that that was the way that I learned how to do everything, and I'm gonna stick with it. So I don't really care what anybody else thinks. So, but aside from that, I'm gonna go ahead and get all of these plug wires back on, and I'll come back in a few minutes. All right, so all my plug wires are on it, and I know I've got my vacuum distributor kind of trying to see if I can get it to hook back up right. This carburetor is a little bit different than the older one. It's got a screw-in nipple for the vacuum advance, which I'm just going to kind of try to, you know, avoid. Y'all didn't see that. So anyway, All right, so now that we got pretty much everything hooked up, well, if I could hook up my coil wire. Don't mind the extra length of all of this over here. I got to straighten it all out. I'm just doing this just so I can get it to run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this battery in it, and then I've got a water bottle with some gas in it, and I'm going to take it and pour some gas down these 2 vent tubes here. And I'm going to see if I can get this thing to fill up the bowl to where we can see if it's going to run long enough for me to maybe tune on it just a little bit and see if I can get it to idle before it runs out. I have another fuel filter that I'm going to put in line here. I've got to take it off down at the fuel pump, so that way if it does start pulling some fuel from the tank, which I don't think there's anything in the tank, that way it won't get into my carburetor, because, you know, I don't really want to mess up my carburetor, because that's the one that I use to get things running. So we're going to throw this battery in real quick, and once we do that, then we'll be able to go hit the key with some gas in it and see if she'll fire up and run for even longer. So let me get the battery in, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're going to try to fill up these bowls as best we can, which I'm obviously failing at doing, but we're going to try it anyway. So like I said earlier in the video, that ought to be enough. Like I said earlier in the video, I've been struggling around with COVID for the last week or so. So if that's good gas, I kind of have no idea, because that was given to me whenever the guy brought the car to me. So I have no idea whether or not this is good gas, and I have no idea what's going to come out of the pump. And if there is anything in the tank, then it's probably going to be god-awful, and it's going to look like a freaking bloodbath up here. So let's make sure we got fuel. Okay, we got fuel to the carburetor. I'm going to go in here and hit the key, and we're going to see what happens. So hopefully we get something halfway decent. I'm hoping that this vibrating engine is not going to mess with my camera setup here. So I'm going to see if I can fix y'all to where y'all won't fall all over the place. But we're gonna try it anyway, and we're gonna see what happens. So I'm gonna go hit the key, and we'll see what happens. All right, we got the battery charger hooked up, and we're gonna try this again and see if we can get it to spin over fast enough to bust off. So let's try this again. A little bit more fuel. She's smoking like a freight train, boys. We gonna get her going today. Man, I ain't never seen one smoke this bad in all the years that I've been doing this. Man, I sound like an old man. But yeah, she's running pretty good, and I was getting dirt thrown in my face right there. So let's try this again. She's still got a little bit of life left in her, so we'll put y'all back where she needs to be. Let's try this again. I'm getting excited, y'all. I love doing this stuff. So let's give her another spritz here. Getting pretty close to being out, but we're gonna try it again anyway. So let's hit the key. And we're out of gas, folks, but I will say she's running pretty good. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get a fuel system set up on this thing, and it does look like it was, yep. She's starting to throw out she's throwing out some pretty bad gas from the tank, so we're gonna unhook the fuel line there, and we're gonna put a fuel filter in line, and we'll get it running out of a jug, so that way we can keep it running long enough. So for right now, I'm gonna unhook this battery charger and let this battery juice up for a little while, and then we'll see where to go from here. Surprisingly, these old Mercury cars like this are really, really quiet, considering how big of a displacement they are and all the exhaust on it, because these really weren't muscle cars. Now, if you take a look at my car, obviously, this is my 1967 Mustang. This is my pride and joy. I love this car. 302 under the hood. I'll show it to you guys real quick. Don't mind the messiness of the shop. I've been kind of working out here. So this is my girl here. She's definitely not perfect under here, so you know, just don't judge. But this car was designed to be a sports car. So this thing is obviously going to have a little bit more volume to it when you're running it. Whereas this one is a 6-passenger family car that really was not designed for loudness and speed and all that. It was designed for comfort. This thing weighs an ungodly amount, and this thing was really a cloud for cruising down the road, because Mercury really was the luxury brand of Ford, right next to Lincoln. It wasn't as far up as Lincoln was, but it was pretty darn close. So like I say, I'm gonna put a fuel filter in this carburetor. I've got another one sitting over here on the bench. I'm gonna put this one in here, then I'm gonna get it running out of a jug, and then put another piece of line on the end of that right there, so I can get it going into my bad fuel jug, so that way we can just go ahead and pump everything out. And I'm gonna put another fuel filter in line down here coming from the pump. This thing actually has power steering, folks, which is kind of interesting to me. But down here is our fuel pump. I'm guessing that it's good, because I'm seeing just a little bit of fuel coming out right there, which is good, because now I don't have to go try to find a fuel pump for a 63 Monterey. So we're gonna try to get this thing set up to where it's running out of the jug, and we will definitely be getting somewhere pretty soon. All right, so I've got my jerry can hooked up, full tank of 89. I don't know why I bought 89, I just do. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go in here and spin the key and try to get some fuel up here. Hopefully that fuel pump works. If not, well, we're gonna be screwed. So like I say, hopefully the fuel pump's working, and if it is, then I'm gonna go ahead and figure out a way to rig this up to where we can get some fuel pressure up here. Once we do that, then we can start it up and see if we can get it to run a little bit longer, long enough at least, so I can kind of tune on it and get it where it needs to be. So I'm gonna take care of that real quick. So let's go in here, and ow, I just hit my head. So we're gonna go in here, and I'm gonna spin the key over a few times, and I'm gonna see if that fuel pump's actually working. And if it is, that's a good thing. And if not, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, because I don't know of anywhere that sells a 63 Mercury Monterey fuel pump, if they do at all. So gas is probably fixing to go everywhere, but we're gonna try it anyway. Let's see what happens. We definitely got fuel now. So I'm going to figure out a way to clean that up really quick, and I'll be back with you in a second. All right, so I got my fuel line rigged up here. I'm gonna try to we're gonna let it run and make sure there aren't any leaks, and if there are any leaks, we're gonna fix them. But see if we can get it running long enough to where we can check timing and check alternator and good stuff like that. So let's go in here and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when I hit the key, and we'll see if we can get some fuel up to it, and see how she runs once we can get her to idle and everything. So let's give her a little bit of fuel, and let's see what happens. got us a rather large problem down here. So apparently this is a return fuel system, which is rather surprising for this. So I'm gonna have to go in here and cap off this hose here so that we can continue running it and not spill fuel everywhere. But other than that, it's running pretty good, and no leaks in my setup up here. So let me fix this and I'll be right back. All right, so I got our fuel line situation worked out. If you can look right there, that little baby, where my finger is, that little baby thing right there on the bottom of the fuel pump, that's actually a return line. They actually had a return on this in '63. So I just have it running up under the car and into this pan here. It doesn't, there's not a lot of fuel that comes out of it anyway, so I'm not expecting to lose a lot. Just enough to where I can run it and get it to where it's gonna run good enough. If I were to take the master cylinder off, I had to get a master cylinder ordered for it, because the one that's it's in the bench vise right now, and it's yeah, locked up solid. So and also the pedal's locked up, so something is going on in there, and I'm gonna fix it eventually. So yeah, let's fire this thing back up and let's see if we can get some temperature in it too, because this is going to be interesting if it doesn't hold any temp. Also, the start attempt that you just saw was the first start in about 40 years, if I'm not mistaken. This thing was parked back in 90. Excuse me, the last time this thing was registered was 1980. So let's see, what is the last tag on this thing? The last tag on this thing is 1982. So this thing has been off the road for a while. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start it up, get some water flowing, and we'll see if we can get her to get some temperature in her, and let's see what's going on. So I'm gonna put you guys down somewhere that's not gonna shake like a leaf. So let's see, I'll set you guys right down here on my cart. Let's see. I don't know where to set you guys. Y'all are kind of... Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and like I say, we're gonna see what's going on. We might end up putting an engine in this thing or something. So I think she's a runner. She's got a lot of life left in her. But yes, also I just noticed this heater core is pouring like Niagara Falls. But yeah, we're gonna definitely keep working on this thing, and we might end up putting an engine in it or something. So I know we're a couple of 390s are laying around, so we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, be on the lookout for the next video. I know this video might be kind of but you gotta remember, my first video. I've never done this before in my life. I have no idea what I'm doing. So if anybody out there has any tips for making a YouTube channel, let me know. So be on the lookout for the next video. Should be upcoming in the next couple weeks probably, and we will definitely have a video on this beautiful blue four-wheeled machine, as well as my buddy's car, what we're calling the green machine, 72 Grand Cherokee. So we're gonna have a good time here at Skibo's Garage. So until next time, I'll catch y'all later.